Alright everybody, this is a one-of-a-kind special, possibly going to be made into a series. This is the return, the second return, of TWIF, This Week in Fantasy, with your host, me, Trampy Rampy, and Wiley Singleton, the Dick Savage Wood Benny Hill Zerg extraordinaire. Alright, let's get into it here. So, today we're going to be watching a video of Wiley playing some StarCraft while we talk about this. Oh, this is all live. Totally live. Definitely not rehearsed.
Oh, ZVZ.
It's going to be bad.
ZVZ, why wouldn't it be ZVZ?
It's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty.
I would have seen my awful TBT.
Alright, let's start off by catching up. So, we saw a TWIF at the beginning of the year outlining the draft and how people have done in the draft. And Wiley made a power ranking. It's going to be in the description. And you can go ahead and look at that. And we can see how the teams have done since these predictions. So, in our standings, in our three divisions, we're going to call them the Luck Division, which is Division 1. It has Christian in it, Seagouch, who is obviously the luckiest person alive in terms of fantasy. And that division has... Oh, and it does have Lily, that is true. I had forgotten about that. That division has the Victoria's Secret, which is Seagouch. It has Lemon Dogs, which is Wiley. One Johnny Football Please, which is Weston. And the Bloodthirsty Savages with the Hello Kitty emblem, which is Lily. Now, let's just look at how this group has played out. Originally, looking at the draft, this group looked so strong. Incredibly strong. With Christian's team being pretty stout, as it is always. But Christian's team did look like it was going to be in the probably second or third in this division. But a lot of things have happened since then, including Wiley's team taking a few injuries, mainly to Des Bryant.
And Drew Brees being awful.
Drew Brees, yeah, not been good. So, right now the standings are looking that the Victoria's Secret is in first, tied with Wiley, both at 4 and 2. Although Christian did take a loss last week, which has been beneficial to everybody in the league. So then we have the rest of the group rounding out at 3 and 3, which is still good. It's 500. It's only week 6. I mean, anything can happen. But we have one Johnny Football Please, Weston, and Bloodthirsty Savages taking down their opponents both last week and rounding out into 3 and 3. So now we have the second group, the Central Group, also known as Spencer's Death Group. That's what he calls it, because it's so competitive every year. With
Group of death where everyone has a losing record.
Oh, could not be more accurate. We have
The group of death because it's where good fantasy football owners go to die.
yes. So this group has a historically pretty decent, above average owners. We have the new guy, Black Magic, Kevin the King Trevier. And he is sitting at a sad 2 and 4 with a 4-game loss streak. Somehow still in first place in this group. Unbelievably. Followed by Jay Cutler's breakout season, Spencer, Worthless, Vigar, non-hourglass billing, Singleton. At 2 and 4 also with a loss streak of 3.
He's really good at making it to the playoffs and figuring out a way how to lose, regardless of how good his team is.
So then we have our resident ass kicker, Disco Hobbits, the god of our fantasy league, who has been underperforming the past couple of years. At 2 and 4, who has finally won a game this past week, and is catching back up now. Disco Hobbits has had a bad year. He hasn't been managing his team well. It's just been hard to watch, really. And then we have the biggest disappointment of the year, in my opinion, Clap for Bacon.
Is he a disappointment though? Didn't we all know his team was bad after he drafted it?
I didn't. I thought his team was pretty decent, but I mean that could have just been me. Um, so in my opinion, it was the biggest disappointment. So he's at 2-4, and he has consistently been putting up bad games, just terrible team numbers, and just a really, really big disappointment in my opinion. He hasn't been playing the waiver wire well at all either, which is a big part of the new kind of fantasy leagues. Like you have to play waiver wire well because you cannot rely on just your drafts.
We should talk about
I'll get to that at the end, after I've finished rounding out the standings here. So now we're going to go to, in my opinion, the toughest group, this year at least, in our league, which is the division that I am in, the West League, which is the Fantasy Genius, Big Ben Roethlisberger, yeah, Mr. Old Ben with the Stephen A. Smith picture and everything.
great picture, by the way. Probably my favorite team name combo.
Understandable. It's pretty good.
Like my favorite team name / picture combo.
Yeah. So Ben is at 4-2, and he has taken a loss this last week, as did all top teams in our league. It was quite a tough week for us. So Ben is at 4-2. His team is incredibly stout. I don't think he's really scored, like, had a bad week necessarily. Like last week he lost because Wiley just put up like a lot of points basically. And as we see, Wiley cannot micro his banelings well enough to kill all these Zerglings. So, following the Fantasy Genius, we have the Faith Age, which is my team. A team that I am pretty proud of managing this year. I've had a lot of problems. My running backs being the main one. It's been kind of sad for my running back core, considering Adrian Peterson has had some terrible weeks. Just abysmal. And so my team pretty stout. I do have a tendency of losing games pretty big. My team is it has been pretty inconsistent. But I have scored the most points in the league a few times. I mean, out of 6 games, it's still pretty good. So after me, in 3rd place in my division, we have what, in my opinion, the biggest. What'd you say? The biggest competitor, the biggest surprise?
What are we talking about?
No fried rice.
He's good. After all the Dolphins I saw, he's definitely a surprise.
He's definitely a big surprise. See, so this team is something that you wouldn't have expected to be good. I mean, he had Julio Jones in the draft, which is good. That's something you would expect to be good. But following that, he had really just kind of a below average team that turned into a really good team. Mainly because of Devontae Freeman. I mean, I don't know how many people would have said that Devontae Freeman would have been the best running back in the league this year in terms of fantasy, but man, has he been carrying No Fried's team. Anyways, so then we have rounding out that division, we have Bing Bong 2 Electric Bigelow.
Boogaloo is
Oh, Boogaloo.
It's
Even
supposed
worse.
to be Boogaloo, but if you pronounce it Boogaloo, it sounds more fun.
Still bad. Still bad. However way you look at it. This is Cameron's team. Been pretty un-Cameron-esque, actually. Usually Cameron does well for the first few weeks of the season, or first half of the season, and then falls off desperately. It's just usually not very good. But this year might be doing an opposite thing. Might be pulling a CLG and avoiding the mid-game loss or the end season loss streak.
Speaking of losing,
Speaking of losing, we see Wiley getting wrecked here.
Make anything but drones.
It's pretty bad, dude. As we see Wiley type GG and lose this game.
First game in like 3 months.
The rust is showing. So that rounds out our standings for the week 6 going into week 7. It's been a pretty interesting year actually. We have now see that last week really shaped out how the first quarter of the year has gone. Is it the quarter? Is it the third? I don't know.
We're
third.
We're
Yeah,
a little bit
third.
over halfway. It's the same fucking guy. It's the same fucking Zerd. I should have picked Terran.
So last week, I'm gonna go through some of the games here. We're gonna talk about some of these teams and how they did, really. Go over here. So we have, starting off, we have Lemon Dogs versus the Fantasy Genius. We have Wiley versus Ben. One of the most classic matchups.
Where do you want it?
A great one to watch. I just want to go through the players. Yeah. So Wiley ends up taking this one, as I've already said earlier. And what we see here is we see great performances out of Wiley's receiver core and his running backs. After he put in Eli Pussy Willow Manning and did nothing, and also started a Philadelphia running back who is, you just don't play Philadelphia running backs. They're just bad this year at least. So then he had Chris Ivory from the Jets who put up 25 freaking points, like unbelievable. It's crazy. Followed by Calvin Johnson, a stud, Megatron, the stud, and DeAndre Hopkins, who is the best freaking receiver in the league this year. I don't know how people would have guessed that either. Being a Houston, even being a Houston fan, you wouldn't have guessed that. So then we have Greg Olsen, Wiley's resident Carolina Panther. He always has one on his team. And he gets a good one pretty much every year. So we see Wiley having those great players, 4 great players, but we have some really bad players too though on his team, like his receiver / running back, his flex guy, 1.8 points, really hurting him. Ryan Matthews, 4.6 points, really hurting him also. And Eli Manning obviously getting under 10 points, just really hurting him. Luckily his kicker did put up a decent kicker amount, and the Lions didn't do so hot. So then we have Ben's team, and this is what makes Ben's team so strong. He has players that come in that can make tons of points, even being like not a top tier. So he has Andrew Luck, who has been bad all year, and he's finally put him in. And Andrew Luck has also been hurt all year, or not all year, but in the past 2 or 3 weeks. And he comes back this week against the Patriots, puts up 28 points, really boosting Ben's team. Now, if he had a little bit more production out of his running back core, where Chris Johnson, who has been a stud all year, and Eddie Lacy, who Eddie Lacy is pretty disappointing this year. If he had just gotten some more production from those two, he would have won this game. It is incredible. As we see Wiley playing literal cancer, the Protoss player.
He's not gonna know what hit him.
So we see Ben's wide receiver core. He has a Jacksonville wide receiver in Alan Hearns, who I've never heard of, who puts up usually above 10 points every week. This week he was a little low. He put up 9. That's still not bad though. I mean, sometimes receivers put up 4, sometimes they put up 28. You know, you never really know. It's such a toss-up with receivers usually.
Did he scout me? I don't have
Yeah, he did.
Oh no.
And then he also had Emmanuel Sanders, the Denver Bronco wide receiver, who put up 17 points. Tyler Eifert from the Bengals putting up 10, and James Jones putting up 10.
I just want to play a game. It just dies. I just want to play a game with my race. Is that too? Oh no.
Yeah, that's too hard to ask. So, the big part of what Ben's team is having to help him is his defense in this game. Philadelphia Eagles put up 19 points against the Giants, which is pretty freaking stout. I mean, the Eagles' defense has been good pretty much all year. They probably should have beaten the Cowboys. Wait, did they beat the Cowboys? Eagles? No, they didn't. No. But yeah. I don't want to talk about the Cowboys. So anyways, I guess we're going to see if Wiley makes it out of this game or not. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think this game's pretty over. So, go ahead and get to the next game. Would I consider anybody from the league dead? Cameron's team. Cameron's team is pretty dead. Because in the division that he's in, which is my division, it's almost impossible for him to get into the playoffs right now. Because like the teams that are in this, I mean it's not impossible, but it's very unlikely because of the teams that are in this group. Because they are so stout. As we see Wiley just GG out.
Scouted. He knew what the fuck was up. He was Masters apparently.
Take me over here. Let me see what the next... Okay. So, this next game that we're going to look at is a super disappointing game. It's my own game. I really don't even want to talk about it. I might make Wiley do it, but...
Alright, I got you. Alright, we're in between games, so I'm going to step in for this one. We see Peyton Manning got below 10 points once again. I think he's truly fading as a player, and he's no longer elite, although he's still very good. Justin Forsett got a droopy 10 for Lilly. That's to be expected. LeGarrette Blunt-Blowin put up 22, carrying her team. Torrey Smith also notable with 15. Matt Daly would be proud. Jordan Matthews with an irrelevant 3.9. He's a Philly receiver. Grant got her 11. She started Mike Crabtree on her bye, and you still lost. Mason Crosby, 1 point, and the Cardinals D1. For Rampy, we had Marcus Mariota getting hurt and getting 5. Adrian Peterson getting 5. A guy named Duke Johnson that plays for Cleveland getting Aaron 5. I hope you see a theme here. AJ Green coming in with 4. Antonio Gates with 9.5. And then Edelman, Hauschka, and Beckham all combined for just over 10 points. Well, yeah, that's true. Didn't combine. I wish this would go away forever. They had like, I'll just tell you. Edelman had 11. Beckham had 12. Did I get a fucking ZVZ? Okay. Okay, here you go.
So yeah, pretty disappointing game for me. I mean, I don't know what the Vikings are doing. Just run the ball. Give the best running back in the league the ball. It's pretty simple. I don't know. And then Duke Johnson, really I just played him because basically the Cowboys are on a bye and I have Joseph Randall. So that game was very disappointing. LeGarrette Blunt, pretty stout versus Indianapolis. It's just not easy to win sometimes, you know. Sometimes people get lucky.
Is that how you won the division that one year, Rampy?
No, I was good that year. And everybody else is trash, including Ben. So the next game we're gonna look at is the absolute stomp of the week. We have one Johnny Football Please playing Jay Cutler's breakout season. Now, before I get into this game, I want to preface that I talked a lot of trash last week to Spencer. I told him that he was bad, told him he was a bad manager, and he didn't know what he was doing.
Facts.
Bars. So, this week, coming to the... I thought he would have some kind of bone to pick with just, you know, just being a bad owner. But apparently I was wrong. I'm going to leave out the part that I was talking trash about him losing to Lily and then me losing to Lily also, but it was sad also. It was a lot of trash. But Spencer didn't back up anything, so it's okay. Spencer comes into this game with a pretty good lineup of players, but a lot of buys, which hurts him a lot. I understand that hurts him. But he still has pretty good, decent players who should have done better than this. But there was no beating One Johnny Football Please this week. He put up the most points in the league, 151.7, which is way too much to beat. If you got more points than that, then you wouldn't lose a game in the year, pretty much. So let's start off with how good Weston's team is. He has Blake Bortles, Jacksonville QB.
Yeah,
It's not over here.
sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, Blake Bortles, who has been pretty impressive this year. I mean, Jacksonville's not a good team by a long shot, but Blake Bortles himself has been putting up a lot of fantasy points. This game he puts up 23, a staggering 23. And then you have, I mean, you see, like, if you look at it, Weston's team did not have anybody put under 10 points up. That's how stout it was this week. I mean, there's no way you can really beat that. Unless you have two people go off for like 40 and the rest of your team do well. I mean, Blake Bortles at 23, Arian Foster at 17, DeMarco Murray 18.5, Demaryius Thomas somehow being the weakest out of the bunch with 11 points. Allen Robinson, never even heard of this guy, Jacksonville receiver, putting up 14.
He was the guy that, oh, never mind. I think it was someone else.
That was Cecil Shorts, man.
That caught those 3 touchdowns?
I think so.
Yeah, he's, after I started saying it,
I don't know, man. I'm not sure. He has Gary Barnidge, never heard of this guy, Cleveland tight end, and he has Alshon Jeffrey from the Bears, who puts up 20. Gary Barnidge put up 15. So we have, and then we see his kicker putting up 14, which is more than everybody on Spencer's team except for one person. And then he has the Broncos defense, which is clearly the best defense in the league. So we look at Spencer's team, and I've already prefaced that he doesn't have anybody put up over 10 points other than his quarterback Cam Newton, who puts up 19, which is pretty regular in terms of Cam Newton stats. He's a great fantasy quarterback, super solid, super consistent. Anyway, so he has Rashad Jennings, who's been pretty good this year. He's put up a few games with 20 plus points. He has Le'Veon Bell, the Pittsburgh running back, who has been pretty freaking good after his suspension. Randall Cobb. Obviously, the Packers didn't do super hot. I think they still won, but I don't think they did super well. Jeremy Maclin, Kansas City. Martellus Bennett, another Bear, but obviously Alshon Jeffrey got all the passes. Then he has Josh Brown, the kicker for the Giants, who got pub stomped, and the Bengals defense. So we see that Spencer's team did not do anything to make up for last week and have just fallen into a bigger hole. So now we're going to look at a very important game, probably the most important game of the week in my opinion. Maybe second to Wiley's game against Ben. We have Disco Hobbits versus Sea Gouch. I've also talked a lot of trash to Sea Gouch about how he's not going to make playoffs, so hopefully that'll go through, but I doubt it. Anyway, so we have Steve Gouch, who has Tom Brady, Tom Terrific, Deflategate Extraordinaire, who put up 22.5, basically making his team stay in this one. But then we see the rest of his team. We have CJ Spiller, Shane Vereen, and Antonio A. Brown. I can't remember what his name is. His first name.
Who does he play for?
I don't even know.
Oh, it's Seagouch. That's Antonio Brown. He plays for the Steelers.
Oh, Antonio Brown for the Steelers. And also Brandon Cooks from the Saints. All putting up under 5 points, with Vereen putting up 0.6. Pretty terrible. Then we have him with Brandon Marshall and Jermaine Graham, and the Texans defense with Goskowski actually putting up some decent points. Overall, Seagosh got 87 points, which is not good enough to win in this league. Since we only have 12 teams in our league, you usually have to get about 90 plus, 110 plus, kind of points to actually do well in this league and to win games. So we see him going up against Disco Hobbits, who scores a perfect 100 points this week, with Matt Ryan, Matt Forte, LaShawn McCoy, all putting up over 15 points. We have Keenan Allen getting hurt, but still putting up 15 points. We have R. Randall. Not sure who that is actually. He's the Giants receiver, second to Odell Beckham, who obviously doesn't get as many touches, putting up only 4, and the Green Bay Packers tight end also putting up under 4. Then he has Frank Gore as his flex, which is always great to flex a running back. If you have enough good running backs, it's great to flex a good running back, because they're more consistent than wide receivers and just generally put up a lot of points. Then he has DeAndre Hopkins. D. Hopkins. That's not DeAndre Hopkins. That's Dustin Hopkins. Oh wow. Abby. And the Packers defense at 6 points. So we see Seagouch losing to Disco Hobbits, which is a huge deal. For Spencer, that means Spencer is going to be put back. That also means that we see Disco Hobbits moving back up and claiming his rightful position as king of the second division. And yeah, we see Seagouch losing, which is always great. Always a great thing to see Seagouch lose. As we see Wiley killing the bee machines. Or not killing the bee machines, I'm not sure. No, you missed. I don't know, man. He killed all those void rays. He's done ski. Where's his GG? Anyways, okay. So we got 2 more games to go to highlight here. And this first game, the last game is going to be a good one to highlight. It's a pretty significant one to talk about. This next game is not. It's pretty bad. I mean, got 2 of the worst teams in our league in it, and we see dad versus son here in this game, though, which is always kind of fun to look at. So we have Clap for Bacon, Kevin, Clap for Kevin Bacon, and we have Bing Bong 2 Electric Boogaloo, Cameron, and his terrible team name. Is that Mike Ditka? The Mike Ditka picture. Jesus. So we see Clap for Bacon starting the worst quarterback in the entire league, Sam Bradford. No, Mark Sanchez is Sam Bradford's backup. The butt fumbler himself. And then we have Mark Ingram, Marshawn Lynch. So looking at the first 3 guys on Clap for his team, you'd think, well, if he just got an upgraded quarterback, he could have a good team. Well, you're right, and it's sad because his next receiver is Larry Fitzgerald, one of the top receivers in the league this year. The Cardinals have been good all year, been passing the ball a lot, and they've been putting up a lot of points, which should bode well for Larry Fitzgerald. Well, the thing is that Clap 4's team has just not come together. So then he has M. Jones. We're gonna look at that is. I'm not sure who that is. Oh, Marvin Jones from the Bengals, who got all the catches this week over AJ Green, put up a good 15.5 points. The Bengals have been playing lots of good receivers, and because they've had a really good pass game. Andy Dalton's been really strong. Yeah, that's why you don't see Giovanni Bernard making the kind of points that he did last year. So then he has I forget what this guy's first name is. Something Kelsey. Travis Kelsey. Putting up about 8, which is pretty good for a tight end. Pretty stout, pretty strong, consistent. So then he has K. Davis. I don't know who this is. Niall Davis? A Chief? I don't know who that is. Who apparently had a punt return for a touchdown. But he only put up 2.5 points because we don't count special teams in our league. Matt Bryant from for the Falcons. And then we have the Colts putting up 9 points. So we see that Clap 4 put up a pretty modest 86. But like I said last time, that's usually not enough points to win a game in our league. However, when you're playing Cameron, it's enough. So we have Cameron playing Russell Wilson, putting up 19. Alfred Morris putting up a terrible 3.2 points. We have Giovanni Bernard putting up 13.3. Basically just got like 1 touchdown and like a couple rushing yards. I mean, like 50 rushing yards, still not very much. Just getting in the end zone is super huge. Travis Benjamin, Michael Floyd, Heath Miller putting up 0.5 points. A. Williams. See, like when people play things I don't know, I don't know what to do with it. You know, he's a New York running back, probably behind the 6 other running backs that New York has. And then he has Dan Carpenter and the Seahawks defense putting up a combined 10 points. So you would just see Cam's team being very, very weak. And we see Clap 4's team being strong. He has a strong team. He just needs an upgraded quarterback and an upgrade at a 3rd receiver or 3rd running back. And his team could be pretty stout. It's hard. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to see people play and just not manage their team well at all. I don't know if Clap 4 has even been playing the waiver wire at all. At least he hasn't been starting people on bye. That's good. It's always good to see. So now we're going to go to one of the best games this week, or one of the most impactful games. The other games that I've personally liked have been Wiley versus Ben, and Christian versus Disco Hobbits. Yeah. So this game is Black Magic, Kevin Travier, sorry, versus No Fried Rice for You. Now, No Fried, we've already talked about this, a big sleeper, big up-and-coming team that you wouldn't have seen coming, really. So, let's go ahead and look at No Fried's team first. He's got Andy Dalton. Who would have thought Andy Dalton would be one of the best quarterbacks for fantasy in the league this year? I wouldn't have. I mean, would you? No. Okay.
I thought Breeze would be better than Dalton. I was wrong about that.
Yes, you were sadly wrong about that, yes. So then he has Danny Woodhead, who's been pretty good this year. He had a down week this week, only putting up 7. Still pretty good, though. I mean, compared to my running backs. But then he has Devontae Freeman. Now, can we just talk about Devontae Freeman right now? I mean, this guy is a monster in fantasy this year.
This is one of those guys that if you get him on your if you get him on your team, then you're almost for sure gonna win the league because of how strong he is.
Yeah.
And the fact that you probably didn't know he was gonna be great, so you drafted him late, so you have other talented guys.
So Devontae Freeman scored 2 touchdowns this week, a rushing one and receiving one. Had 150 yards rushing, and put up 27.5 points. What can you do about that? I mean, when you got your quarterback and your number 1 running back combining for almost 50 points. I mean, how do you compete with that if the rest of the team even puts up anything? I mean, that's crazy. So then he has Julio Jones, who's been a stud this year also, like every year. Only putting up 9.3 points, so a little down for him. Then he has, let's see here. Oh, he has Jay Brown for the, John Brown for the Arizona Cardinals, who put up 17 points. Got himself, I think 1 or 2 touchdowns this week. Oh no, he just had freaking 196 receiving yards. Wow, a lot of targets for him. Then he has C. Clay, the Bears wide receiver. Oh no, sorry, the Buffalo Bills tight end.
It shows you up here, by the way.
Oh, I didn't even know you were on there. Sorry. Charles Clay, and then you had Jeremy Hill, the running back for Cincinnati, who's been getting most of the carries now this year, which has been good for him, putting up 13 points. Then he has Adam Vinatieri putting up a pretty crappy 3 points, and the Buffalo Bills being abysmal this week, like they have been for the past few weeks. I mean, they really fell off. Well, they came out pretty strong this year. You know, they looked like they could be a contender.
They won like 2 games.
I know, they looked pretty good though. Well, I mean, they had their quarterback go down. Tyrone Taylor got hurt, and the Bills defense put up -1 points. I mean, just not good. When you look at somebody like the freaking Denver team putting up 17, -1 is pretty terrible. So now we're gonna look at Black Magic's team. We have Aaron Rodgers putting up 19.6 points. Pretty stout, pretty reasonable for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Just an overall great pickup fantasy. So then we have him playing Carlos Hyde, the 49ers miracle running back, for the first half of the first part of this year. Putting up only 6. Dion Lewis. I don't know why you'd play the New England second string running back, but he put up a good 3.9 points. Golden Tate, still not good, unfortunately, putting up 10. Mike Wallace putting up 2.3.
Golden Tate really only does well whenever Megatron has a shitty game. So, like this week, Megatron got me 22. Golden Tate didn't do anything.
Understandable. So then he has Delaney Walker, 9.7 points, pretty good. T.Y. Hilton at 13. And so that, I mean, you can see it didn't really do that well this week. And then obviously, he look at his kicker who only scored 4, and the Falcons defense put up 0, because I don't know what happened in that game, but with Devontae Freeman getting 27 points, you would think they'd put up something, right? I don't know. I mean, if you have 150 rushing yards, you should be able to have the clock on your side for the most time, you know? Makes no sense. They even lost that game. It's unbelievable. So, that's how our fantasy league has been going. That's how last week has gone. And we see the overview. So I want to talk about one crazy thing in our league right now. And then I'm going to go into the meta of fantasy football a little bit. So something crazy in our league is the standing situation. So last week we had Christian being number 1, followed by Ben, and then and third was me. So this week, after all 3 of those teams lost, we have an insane thing going on now. We have Christian in second now. He is leading his division, followed by Wiley in third, who is in second in that division. With the same record, yes. Now we're going to go down to my division, where we have 3 4-2 teams. And this is where it gets really crazy. So Ben is in first in our division. He has a record of 4-2, and he is in 5th place in the league. Now you're gonna say, wait, where are the others? Where's number 1? Where's number 4? You know, where are they at? Well, this is where. You have number 2 in that division, which is me, Faith Age, and I'm in 4th place in the league. So I'm in the league standings. I'm ahead of Ben, but because I've lost to Ben, I'm behind him in our division standings. It's crazy. And then here's the really insane part. Number 3 in our division, no fried rice for you, the dark horse sleeper of the league, is in 1st place in our league with a 4-2 record and 3rd place in the division. So seeing the rest of this year play out is going to be crazy. So we're going to talk about the meta now. We're going to talk about the fantasy football meta and why.
Explain what metagame is first.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about the meta. The basically like what is good, what is strong, and what is going to be the best way to win in the current times of fantasy football. So you look at things like DraftKings, FanDuel, and you wonder like why are these getting so popular now? Like why weren't these popular at all before? Well, one is because of just the recent popularity in the internet in itself. 2, because fantasy football used to be very straightforward, very skill-based, very much you draft these people, you're going to have a good year because they are consistent. Running backs are played more often. Like it was just like one solid running back for almost every team. And now you have the change in the NFL where you have the running back by committee party idea. And this is, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad for the NFL, but it is awful as a fantasy player. You have examples like the Cowboys situation where like one week you'll have Joseph Randle score like a touchdown, and then they'll be in the red zone and they'll play Darren McFadden, you know, and he'll score the touchdown and you'll lose those 7 points for your running back. So now this is partially why the rise of FanDuel and gambling websites have come, because it's less predictable to buy these people, but also has shown that like how these what am I trying to say here? How these like companies have been able to derive how like the people's worth has become easier for them because they don't have to like they don't have to conform to like how the player is doing each week. Like they can just give a random amount of money, like the worth to each player, and it still work out for them. What else do you want to say about the meta?
You need to talk about how like it's so coin flip.
Well, I think you should talk about that.
Okay, so the problem with fantasy football is like Aaron touched on, is the fact that you like the standard as far as how to win is completely different, and whereas before you could draft running back heavy teams and prosper and predict and try to anticipate what was going to happen within the season, and you had stable guys you could go to every year and like build a team around consistency. Now the league, because it's so pass focused, is all about coin flips and trying to find the best receiver who's going to get the points, and it makes games stupid. So if you look at the scores, even like best teams in the league are putting up fucking 60 points some weeks. It just shows that the metagame is flawed, and the current scoring system for fantasy football needs to be changed, I think. And like I think the NFL is becoming less fun to watch overall, as it's kind of over like the last 10 years it's gotten corny mainstream, boring, commercialized. I mean, it's just horrible. But it's my 2 cents. There's so many games this year where even good teams will just put up like 60 points, whereas in the past, the point totals were way more consistent. If you had a good team, 120 almost every week. If you remember the first season of TWIF when Disco was killing it, he scored over 100 almost every single week, and the shitter teams would score low every week. You didn't have, Lily scoring 50 one week and then 120 next week, or me scoring 50 1 week and then, what did I score this week? Like 115 or like 120? There should not be that much variance. In general, in games, the less variance there is, the better, and the more often the more skilled player will win. Do you have anything you want to add?
Um, I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, like it's hard to see. I mean, I'm just going through all the weeks, so I'm letting them see all the scores of the week.
They can't see that.
Yeah, they can. I should change it.
How? Oh shit! How did you do that?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
So, yeah, just click on get week 5 there. Yeah. So I'm just like going like mousing over it. So yeah, thank you Wiley for having me on this week. Obviously I did a lot of the commentating this week. I'm still pretty new to it, so it's not the greatest. Obviously I know I'm gonna work on it. Hope you guys enjoyed some StarCraft. I know Wiley's channel hasn't had very much content on it, which has been unfortunate, but hopefully we can get some more content on there as a team and as a bunch of people, as a friends here.
All right.
And yeah.
I got this. Guys, be specific. What do you want to see? Do you want to see full videos of us talking over the thing? Do you want to see more live games with Aaron mostly talking and me chiming in like we did this time? Do you want to see a different guest? Spencer's coming up. Maybe we could do like a roundtable type thing and post that up. But Aaron helped me get some new software set up, so we'll get it popping. Spit it.